Hello, everybody. Let's keep dancing. Yeah, that's how we welcome you to Moment with Africans. That's a video from Sierra Leone. It's the wedding of Olive and Francis David. The wedding, it's a kind of a mixture of Western and tradition. So they did a Western church style wedding and they came out to a traditional African dancing, which is called Gumbi. And that was really fun because uh, I will say I'm still dancing in my mind. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us. Um, it's always wonderful to have an event like this. But before we move further, we need to introduce the people in the panel. So let's go. Let's see. We have Dolly Grimes Johnson, the director of Alafia. We have Fasayad Mabutu, a friend of Alafia. We have Abat Williams, a board member of Alafia. We
We
we have Minister Daphne, a board member of Alafia. Yeah, more people are joining. So, um, while we are trying to get the other people in, let me tell you a bit about Alafia. We have Zainab Bintu Kuruma, another friend of Alafia. So Lafia is a safe space for everybody, especially immigrant family. We focus in empowering families, making them independent, self-sufficient, and everything people need for their life to be comfortable. Basically, we have several programs. We have our digital media program, directing people towards digital career. We have sickle cell business sponsorship. We have a digital program for sickle cell families. We also have our hotline, which is important. Our hotline is so important because it's 24-hour and we offer services to victims of sexual and domestic violence. So, right now, if you have any issue with domestic violence, sexual violence, please call us on 414-432-3555. Again, our hotline number is 414-432-3555. And as you can see, the number is scrolling on the screen. Yes, let's move. Right now, we're going to introduce the host for this event. Basically, let me give you a brief background about the host. The host is somebody I call the father. The host is somebody that really have put a kind of picture in my mind how a husband should look like. And it took me a while to find a man because I keep looking for those quality because I grew up with him in the same house. He cooks, he cleans, he does everything. So all the stuff people say, oh, a woman should be doing, he has been doing that. Anyway, ladies, he's taken, is already married. Basically, he's a blessing, he's a wonder, and evaluate to his community. He is Abat William Sabat. Welcome to Moment with African, and you can take the floor.
Thank you, Ethlyn. Thank you for such a wonderful introduction. I didn't even know I have all those qualities, but it's good that people are looking at you, looking at your lifestyle, and then that lifestyle is is reflecting on the lives of people and the community. So today is all about moment with Alafia, and some maybe some of you might not know meaning of Alafia and what Alafia means. Alafia is um, means about peace of mind, and if you're from Sierra Leone, you might know about peace of mind as kolat. So when you have peace of mind, you have everything surrounded. You're surrounded by everything. You you're happy. You have everything that you need. In as much as you might not have everything that you need, you might be satisfied. So that's the meaning of Alafia. It's always a pleasure to host an event focusing on the positive aspect of the African countries and their cultures and what they do and what we should work on. So, there's that negative things that people always talk about Africans. And but when we host things like this, even our children that are not even born in Africa know the culture of Africa, they have the opportunity to know our culture. They have the opportunity to know what we stand for and the things that we do. We have so many wonderful people on the panel. I know each and every one of us, whether you're live, whether you are watching us virtually, or you're part of the um, this link, you will be able to learn something. You'll be able to take something back home. So I know we have the people from Sierra Leone, people from Liberia, people from other parts of Africa, when they talk, they would sort of bring their culture. They will sort of talk something about their culture. So we'll be learning more about the African culture. Um, Before we start, I just want to share the African culture about naming ceremony, just for you to have a start on a gist of what is happening in the African culture. And again, it's a good way to start because when you have a child or you have an additional member joining the family or joining the community, the first thing you need to do is to give that person a name. That's the start of every individual. You are born, you're given a name. So the African culture of naming ceremony, maybe Liberian might have a different name for it. Botswana might have a different name. Uganda might have a different name for it. But in Sierra Leone, we call it Pulnado. So Pulnado, it's what we call naming ceremony. So Pulnado, um, as the last part of it, it says do. It's like you're taking out. When we say do, it means you're taking someone out. You're taking them out, you're exposing them. Pull, it's again an English word, it's to take something, to pull something. So you pull something from one place to the other. That is pull in an English context. So what it means is pull nado, you're taking that child out. You're introducing that child to the community, you're giving that child a name. That's what we call punado in the culture of Sierra Leone. So what it entails, it, it it's either you have a boy or girl. So it's a 7 day for a girl child, and it's I think 9 or 8 day for a boy child. So what it does is when you have that child, if it's a girl child, you have to count in 7 days. You call your community around, and then you name the child. So again, it's an event of celebration, an event of happiness to welcome that new individual to the community. So what happens is, if it's a Muslim, you have to get the imam or the people in the Muslim religion that are up there. You get them around the camp. They read. They read the Quran. They read Surah. They pray on the child, and then the child is given a name. And it is encouraged that that name that the child has been given will be used for the entire life of the child until that child get married. Obviously, some people will change their last name. So that's what it is. So on a 7 day for a godchild, they'll call the imam, say some prayers, and then the parents will call the name. And that will be the first time the people will hear the name about that child. Obviously, the parent will have a name for it, but it will be the first time the community will know the name for the child. But the most enjoyable side of that thing, before they even call the name, people come and throw money on the child or give money. So they will ask people to come. If you want to hear the name of the child, you have to pay for the name. So people will come and be giving money until they call the name. And you'll be unfortunate if probably one of you are amongst the people and that child is named after you. Of course you're in trouble, so you'll be looked at to give the majority of the money, so you'll be actually paying for the money. So, and again, on the Christian aspect as well, it's the same thing. After the 7 days or the 8 or 9 days, they'll call the pastor to come in, pray on the child. But another significant area that I forgot to say, the first time the name will be called on the child, it will be called on the child ears, the left and the right. They will do it 3 times, on the left ear and the right ear. So that goes into the child's mind to say, this is your name, accept it, take it, and live with it. So that's what will happen on a naming ceremony. On the flip side, on the Western culture, um, I will not say it's a naming ceremony, sort of, because we do that as well. They call it a dedication or christening, which we do as well. That is done after 9 months, after 3 months of the child being born. That's when we do the christening or the dedication. We go to church, you get the priest, and everybody is there, and then they bless the child, they introduce the child to the church community, and the child's name is called again, and they pray for the child. But when I say on the flip side, on the Western side, when a child is born, before even you come to, I don't know about America, but even in Australia, before even you come home with the child is already named. Because as soon as the child is born, they will ask you for the child's name at, at the hospital, and then you give the child's name, and then they will begin to call the child's name straight away from there. But being that I'm an African, I'm so into my culture and practicing my culture. I've never done that. In all the 3 children that I have, whenever we have a child, the name that the child is called in the hospital is Baby Williams. That's it. We don't give them the name of the child. So we might come home and then fill our forms of birth certificate and things like that, because they convince people to say, oh, it's about the record. So we said, no, we would call the child's name Baby Williams, because what will happen is, if you start calling the child's name at the hospital without even doing the naming ceremony, every individual that comes to visit the child will be calling the child's name straight away, because the nurses will be saying, oh, baby X, baby Y, baby Z. They'll be calling the child's name rather than using the last name until the naming ceremony is called. So what happened is we practice that. We practice that. Don't call the child's name. We rather use the last name of the family until we come home. After the 7 days or 9 days, as the case may be, we name the child. Then that's when everybody will hear the name of the child. So what also does happen in the naming ceremony, people are specific. They choose carefully the names that they give the child, because as the African, we believe that the name of a child reflects the child as the child grows. So we always be careful about that. So when you name the child, you also have to be careful the name that you give the child. So that is what we call a naming ceremony, or as the case may be, from the Sierra Leone culture, it's called Punado. So again, you can drop your comments if you have a different name in the Nigerian culture, in the Liberian culture, in the Botswana culture, what you normally call the naming ceremony. So we can learn from each and every one of us. So drop your comments down at the comment section of how you call what we call naming ceremony. So are we all together in this? Are people on mute? We want this section to be an interactive section. So if you are on the panel, you might you might, if I ask a question, you might use an opportunity to answer. So I know that we are all on the same page. Are we all together in this?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, we are. That's it.
Yes.
Miss Dolly, how do you call naming ceremony in your culture?
Um, put me on the spot now because
Yeah, I
in
know, huh?
Liberia they do it two ways. Yeah, they do it two ways too. The Western or Christian way, and then of course in the traditional setting,
Yeah.
they do it as well, like similar to how you all are doing it. But the
Okay.
exact name be from a particular tribe to a particular tribe, but it's
Hmm.
basically the same steps.
The same, or the name different. And again, I think
Yes.
in my culture as well, they have, we call it komojade. Is that right, Minister Daphne? Is that right? Some people call it komojade. You're on mute. Sorry? You're on mute. No, 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 we can't hear you. You're on mute. Yeah, it's
I,
better now. Yeah. Okay. Try to check your camera because you're on the next agenda. So check your audio settings, yeah? Because you're on mute, we can't hear you. Um Ella Fasaha. How do you call the naming ceremony in your community?
well, can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay.
Yeah.
I am from Eritrea, and Eritrea and Ethiopia, Christianity has been there for over probably almost 2,000 years since the time of Christianity. So the naming ceremony is mostly connected to baptism.
Okay.
So, so we do have naming. A person can have several names,
Yeah.
but usually the day the child is born, we choose the day of a saint most of the time. It could be could be after Jesus, could be after Mary, could be
Mm.
after one of the evangelists or any saint.
Yeah.
That is where is mostly biblical, one way or the other. But since Christianity has been there for a while,
Yeah.
the culture follows mostly the scripture. For example, I'm a Catholic, so we do not have specific time for baptism, but the cultural norm is 40 days for a boy to be baptized, which is very
Okay.
analogous to the Old Testament, the dedication of a child. Then the girl is 80 days.
Wow.
However,
Mm.
this follows the Old Testament structure. There is also the naming ceremony per se uh, until baptism happens. Usually, the name could be any name.
Okay.
The one thing is that we need to understand our we do not have a last name. For example, my first name is Fusahaye. My last name is not my last name, it's my father's first name.
Yeah.
So when I name my children do not take Mabrahtu, but Fusahaye
That's all.
as their last name. This
Okay.
is also very biblical because if you read in the genealogy of Jesus, it goes that way. So mostly the people in the Horn of Africa follow that structure, especially Eritrea, Ethiopia, Somalia, Djibouti, and Sudan. We follow that um, name structure that your uh, last name,
Last name, first name.
first name, last name. If you are a doctor, we would not call you Dr. Williams. Probably we would call you Dr. Herbert. Williams could very well be your father's name.
Okay.
There
Wow.
is also a name, we do not have a junior. Like I cannot call my son Fusahaye Jr. because it is only for somebody memorializing somebody who has passed away. So even if my father is alive, I don't name my son after my father while he is still alive. So those are the norms that we follow, but in other words, it's very Old Testament and New Testament influenced very much. Though, for example, my Christian name would be Fisahat Zion, Fisahat Zion, but the public name would be Fisahai, which means uh, my joy. The year refers mine. Fisaha, and Mabratu also has a meaning, which is
Mm-hmm.
light, his light.
Mm.
So when you read my name, it's Fisaha Mabrahatu. My joy is his light.
Wow. Thank you.
So
Wow.
that type of you will find, and I tell friends that there are people who this came accidentally, but there are people who name their children and the father to have a full sentence with their name with a meaning. So in general, African names are not they are aspirational. They are we call them or they are more what you call spiritual and
Yep.
aspirational names.
Wow.
We don't just call a name Mr. Wood or Mr. Mountain. That's just
Yeah. Uh, it's so good to learn from your culture as well, and it's sort of similar to the Indian culture as well, because their children don't use their last name is always their father's last name. So it's good that we share similar culture. Minister Daphne, let's check your mic if it's working.
Um, yeah, can you get me
Yes,
now?
yes, we can hear you now.
Yes,
So,
you were right when you were talking about Komojade.
Komojade, yes.
And Komojade is mainly said by the people of the Fobe origin, Fulatang, and Aberdeen. They
Yeah.
are mainly the Muslim part of the Creole tribe. And the Creole tribe, these were free slaves that went from the UK, Canada, America, some parts of Jamaica back to Freetown, and
Mm-hmm.
some of them were liberated on high seas, and they were called returnees and went back to Freetown, and most of them are Muslims, and they will refer to it as Komojade, and it's quite big. They can name the child by calling the name of the child. If they cannot do a very big ceremony within 7 days, they can do it within 4 months because it's a
Mm-hmm.
time of celebration, it's a time of dancing, it's a
Mm.
time of partying, it's a time of bringing different food, and especially, and they have different things that they do as Muslims. If it's a boy child, depending on what the parents have, they can kill a cow
Mm.
or a sheep, but mainly for boys, they normally try, depending on how much money. You can kill a sheep for in the Muslim part when they're doing their Komojade or Pulnado naming ceremony many a time. A sheep is killed, it's according to their religion. But the rich ones, they might do a cow, and that is
Mm.
shared along the people.
Yeah.
And the people who will be doing the reading, the Muslim people, the elders, there are certain areas that they've taken of that cow that belongs to them, and then the
Yeah.
rest of the meat is given. There is certain area also of the meat that they will give to the child's mother. They will say you need to cook it for the child's mother for her to have a lot of breast milk, and then the rest of the meat will be shared among everybody that came to that ceremony to have a bit of that meat, the raw meat. You're not
The
cooking it, you're
vomit,
giving them
yes.
the raw meat to
Mm-hmm.
take away, and they will remember that when they went to that komojade, they bought this amount of meat, and that's how they compared which family from poor families, and in doing the naming ceremony. And also Nigerians, also most of the Nigerians, especially the Yorubas, they do their also naming ceremony like us, and most of them would do it within 7 days or 8 days, whether it's a boy or a girl. And that's the same thing that they will do in calling the name, doing all the celebration, a lot of drinking. The priest will come and name that child, and there will be a lot of drinking, and people will bring money, or they will bring other forms of gifts. Money, they'll
Mm.
give money, and they'll bring other forms of gift. And think it was from Africa that these Western people start learning about things like baby shower and stuff like that. And they start copying from what they see us doing, and they try to give it a name. I might be wrong, but when you think about it, it was really African, because a lot of dancing, a lot of showering of gifts of the parents and the child that is done during the naming ceremony.
Well, thank you. Well, thank you. So, excuse me, as we can see, it's so vast and everybody have their own thing, but it still end up to the same one. And as Elder Fasara said, the name is important. The name that we give, it's important and it's reflect. So that is so good. We have that. And if you're an African, you from an African background living in the Western world, let's not forget our culture. Let's keep it. Let's keep it burning so our children, grandchildren can experience it and then they can still take it from time to time. So thank you all for listening to us talking about the naming ceremony.
Mr. William, I just want to interject one thing that is very unique in
Yes.
our culture. When a child is born safely in a village, the woman goes out of the house and announces the whole village with ululation
Wow.
and with counting, seven for boy, I think three or five for girl.
Okay.
Two things is the purpose. One is that the mother has delivered the child safely. The second
Mm.
is that a new child has been born to the village. So this
Wow.
is something that still is cherished, especially in the villages, and you would know
Wow.
because we have to know child mortality and maternal mortality uh, uh, was very widespread, but that's a way of announcing the good news to the whole
Wow.
village.
Wow, that's good. That's good. Uh, I'm not gonna bore our time, but from time to time as we go, we can throw in things that we remember. I know something about the Ghana culture. I might throw that in later, but I'm not gonna waste our time. We're gonna go straight away to the next aspect of this program. So our next guest
Can I
speaker is someone
can I
that,
can I add something real quick?
yeah. Sorry, Miss Dolly.
I said, can I add something real quick? I like the fact that you said that we should maintain our culture.
Yeah.
And to me, it's like regardless of where you are residing, to try to
Yes.
maintain your culture.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Along with that is comes the accent. Doesn't
Mm-hmm.
matter where you are living and how you are trying to assimilate in the culture you're living in. You know, I think it's
Mm-hmm.
important to try to maintain your accent. And people are sometimes
Yes.
surprised, you know, when they hear me talk that
Mm-hmm.
you've been here all these years and you still have an accent. I say, absolutely. I fight hard every day to keep my accent because it's unique to me.
Yeah, that's it. So yeah, that's good. Thanks, Miss Dolly, for that. And yeah, that's very important. Like you speaking, Miss Dolly, I straight away know that you're from Liberia. That will not change it. Because
Oh,
you,
yes,
in as much as yes, the Liberian accent and the American accent somehow similar, but there is a distinct thing about the Liberian accent. You can
absolutely.
actually get you can actually get it and don't mix it with the American accent. So
Absolutely.
yeah, it's a good thing. Yeah, get our children to maintain that accent. Probably something that I need to work on. Thanks for telling me that because yeah, my children do hear my language, but they don't speak it. So it might be something that I might work on. So thanks, Miss
Uh-huh.
Dolly. And just as you've all heard, let's maintain that accent. So when we appear, say for example, like me, I was at work this week and somebody was sending me a message via Teams. And obviously that individual, the name is Aqua. So sent me, would spoke, blah, blah, blah. But my name is Herbert Williams, right? Poor white man. So as we were talking, and then I said, "Oh, you have a familiar name, and that's my auntie's name." And she goes, "Really? Are you serious? You white man?" And I go, "No." I said, "I'm an African. Don't be deceived by the name Herbert Williams." So, and again, for us that have, again, like you, have this sort of American name is Dolly, people will
Yeah.
think that you're an American, but until you speak,
Right.
then they
Right.
will know that, you know what, nah, this is my man
Yeah.
because she's from Liberia, right?
Yeah. Right.
So that's something that we need to keep. So,
Yes.
yeah, let's keep the accent. Would you tell that I'm from Sierra Leone, Miss Dolly?
Yes. I can tell.
Really? Just because you're familiar with me. But I've been to America and people are saying, "Oh, were you born in Australia?" And I go, "No. I came here when all my teeth started falling out. So I'm not from, I wasn't born in Australia. I was
Uh-huh.
old enough and I built up my accent before coming here. But I think the
Uh-huh.
Australian is taking my accent now." Okay. So I'll get on next guest speaker. Our next guest speaker is somebody that um, I would say where I am today, if I can be able to speak and talk and write and speak English and be able to defend all my qualification, contributed so much on it. And again, Ms. Dolly, you're saying let's maintain our culture about flogging kids when you send them to school. And again, this week I was talking to somebody, and the person was telling me, "Oh, kids are happy to go to school these days. In our days, we were not happy to go to school." I said, "Yeah, because they were beating us. If you don't know your times table, you get flogged. You get
Yeah.
beaten. If you can read a BC, you get beaten. If you are given homework and you can't
Yeah.
do it, you get beaten. But yeah, they don't
Yeah.
do that. Yeah, they don't
Child
do that. So
abuse.
they're happy.
Child abuse.
School for them is what they call fun. So I will not bother you. The next guest speaker is somebody that when even before I started going to school, she was the one that, you know how people we go to school, go to teachers college, and then they go for teaching experience and whatever. I think this person actually started a teaching experience with me. So she started a teaching experience with me before even going to teachers college. So it's an individual that went through teachers college in Sierra Leone. She practiced teaching there, and she later moved to UK. She worked there. She became a nurse practitioner. She has a degree in nursing, and she's practicing it, and she's working in hospital there. And above all, she is a minister of the gospel. This is no other person but Minister Daphne Pan. So she'll be talking about African religion. So let's virtually welcome, if you have stars and whatever, virtually welcome Minister Daphne to talk to us about African religion.
Uh, Thank you, thank you. I'm
Um,
sitting here and I'm blushing with that warm welcome and introduction. And yes, that was correct. You might, you're quite right to say you were my first student before going on to the teacher practice. But before I go on, as I will be talking about African traditions and Western Christianity and Islamic Christianity, I will also be making. I will also be talking about naming ceremony because all of that comes into our our African religion. The African religion, it's one of the oldest religion that has been on earth. And from research, it says that the Bantu people from West Africa and North Africa, they started spreading through Central Africa and through East Africa all the way down to South Africa. And it's from those Bantu people from West Africa that you had most of the Zulus, the Zwanda cultures of South Africa. and you will find them practicing similar religions and similar rituals. However, before I go on, research has already shown that the African religion has dwindled in the past 50 years, with Christianity and Islam taking over the continent of Africa. However, the Central African region, are still clinging on to the African traditional religion. And the main thing is quite dynamic, it's quite fluid, and the reason why African tradition is dying out is because it was never written down in stone. It was not documented. There was no set rules to follow. It was handed over from people they call shaman, babalawo, the medicine man, the medicine woman, and so on and so forth. And there are specific people who will be in those schools, who will be through those training, and it's orally handed down from word to mouth. And because anything that is handed down from word to mouth, we knows that things will be left out, things will be added, and the African tradition, religion, actually is a whole community. It forms part of the community, the culture, the traditions, the norm of that society. And every society have their own set of rules that they follow in the African traditional religion. And you will have their different people. You will have the goddess, the people that they call the priests, priestess, and the priest. And it is only in African traditional religion that women played a very, very important role, because there are women as well as men who can equally either be a priest or a priestess for their shrines and whatever, and serve, and the people will listen. And it's also in the African traditional religion, there's quite a lot of things there. There is science, there is history, there is poetry. They believe that there is one God that actually created the universe. However, they find it difficult to approach this God by themselves. So they use different mediums who could be this medicine man and also their ancestors that have already died. That's why I grew up in Freetown in seeing, even though we were Christian, going to church Christian, Anglican and Methodist Christian, but I grew up seeing my grandparents and great grandparents practicing their African traditional religion, where periodically Christmas, Easter, or other issues, they will go to the cemetery to talk to the dead, which means they are appeasing them. They are also trying to say to them, can you watch over us? And especially if new members of the family have arrived, children have been born, they will call. I know, remember my grandfather, they will be calling each and every names. Look over this one is doing this. Even if people are traveling, they will go there and they will say, can you watch over them as they go there, be with them? So they believe that ancestral that have died and gone, they are the living dead. They also form part of the universe, and they can also communicate with God on our behalf. And in that tradition and religion, that where they will have things in their like 48-day ceremony after somebody has died, like a 3-day ceremony, like a 7-day ceremony. These are all rituals that they will do for the dead. For the 40th day ceremony, it's linked with after Christ spent about 40 days on the earth, the ascension, and they will say the person will finally leave, because their belief was for 40 days, in as much as that person has died, that person is still with the family, it's moving around. The spirit of that individual is still there. And after the 40th day, the spirit will completely depart for the beyond, and it will form part of the ancestors, and it will be one of the living dead. The person that I knew that practiced an African religion and being with them until his death was my grandfather. There are things that he never stopped doing until his death. Abad will attest to that. And but he was quite a good man, quite honesty. Another thing that has built out of the African traditional religion is being honest and morals. And the moral, and that's why they were allowed, because they don't want to. There's nothing like fornicating or cheating or stuff like that. That's why men were allowed to have more than one wife. in that African traditional religion. Men were allowed to have more than one wife, and because they want to hold up the status quo, and everybody has to follow whatever norm, whatever tradition, and is there, and they are, and because by then people live in communities, they live in their little villages and in communities, and there are people who will think that have to put a checks and balances, and they're thinking that the earth and everything in this, the forest that they were looking, the Oko tree as they will call it in Nigeria, the baobab tree as they will call it in other places of Africa, like people have their pine and their I don't know what they're making, the old trees that they said, oh, this has been standing for 500 years, these have been standing for hundreds of years. They realize that there is a supreme being that was responsible for those things to be there. And they realize that you have to be in synergy with the earth. So for them, the earth gives life. Why? And they refer to the earth as a female in the triangle of marriage. The earth is Mother Earth, and the heavens are the male counterpart of that of the universe, how the universe is formed. That's why in many African society you will hear them saying Mother Earth, because they think that the earth is a female, because it is the earth that yields increase. You see the fertility that is coming out of the earth, so it is referred to as Mother Earth. But many Africans have traveled abroad. Many Africans have been now living in the diaspora. And then Christianity went to Africa. But even then, a lot of people, when Christianity went to Africa, they were mixing it. They were still practicing the Christianity, but they were still doing the traditional African religion. There were aspects that they were blending and mixing, and it was actually good for them. So mainly the Anglican Church, the Methodist Church, the Roman Catholic Church, the Lutheran Church, the Baptist, many churches that went to Africa, many of them were never bothered with the African coming to church on a Sunday, worship God, worship Christ, do all their confessions. But at other times, they're going to shaman for healing, they're going to a medicine woman for healing, or they're going to a shrine to find out investigation about things. If their travel gonna be success, their businesses are gonna be successful, and everything like that. They were never. But then Pentecostalism also went into Africa by the 60s and the 50s, and things start changing, and people start traveling, and the culture start getting mixed up. The people in the diaspora, they start leaving their villages, and they want to copy Western style. But even up to these days, even the people that are traditional Muslims, the people who call conservative Muslims or conservative Christians, they still maintain some of their roots, the being honest, the honesty, the morality of that religion that was inbreeded in them, they still hold on. So even if they're calling themselves Christians or Muslim, you will never see a traditional conservative Muslim or Christian drinking, fornicating, having many wives, going around. God, in fact, the Muslims are allowed to have four wives, so they will have their four wives. And in their home, put them in different in the same house, and put them in different places, and they will all live in harmony with your children, even though there will be friction. But technically, they are living in harmony. And even with the Christians, even in some Christian villages, even though Christianity is there, some of them are even still allowed to have more than one wife, and it's just the balance that they are doing it. But even with people that are like Pentecostals, once they are now saying that I'm giving my life over completely over to Christ, now I want to do business. Now they never say that I'm a Christian, and I say I'm having a relationship with God, because for me, Christianity having a relationship with the Supreme Being, with God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Ghost. You will never see them practicing things like being in alcohol, going to club, fornicating, having women here and there. Their lives will be completely and absolutely sold for God, even as Muslims. That's why you have the fanatics, that the Muslim, they are so sold out for their belief that they don't care if they can die for it. They can become suicide bomber because they have the belief that once they carried it, they will be going to heavens, and there is a special place prepared for them. They will be having like 4 5 virgins all waiting for them. So they will rather do it, whether it's correct or not. They will be rather being brainwashed into believe those things, and follow them to the latter than try to find out for themselves. But why is not our counterpart? Most of the Christians, most of Africans that have come to the diaspora are now copying what they see. The Christianity that they have found in Western countries is what they are following. That you can be a Christian on a Sunday, but you can be in the club on a Friday night, on a Wednesday night. You can dab in alcoholism. You can be fornicating. You can have as many women as you like. They can go around. They can do in all of these things. They are now dabbing in their the morals that some of them are leaving the morals behind. Dishonesty, corruption has also come into Africans that have traveled to the diaspora, and as we are going back home, we are also taking some of these things that we are copying from Western cultures, and we are going there and we're saying our traditions and things that we add are backwardness. And we're trying now to go back there and try to say we are re-educating our people, but they don't know what they're doing is they're trying to make the richness of the African culture, the richness of what those leaders we are holding, putting communities together, is what has been destroyed, and it's what is slowly being destroyed. And if we're not careful, our children and grandchildren will be westernized, and they will not know nothing about Africa. When it comes to things like naming ceremony, before the child is born, they will consult what is the name that this child is going to get. They will go and consult from their shrine, from whoever, and at times they have the name already that they will be given. But they're like the Yorubas, a child can have up to 30 names, because every family member can choose to give that child the name that they thinks that fit him. That's why you see a Yoruba man will start calling like 6, 7, 8, 9 names, and you're wondering, do you have all of that names? Yes, because family members have chosen to give that person all of those names, and as they become adult, they will choose what names they wanted to be called. Or the parents can also say, okay, I'll only put 2 or 3 or 4 names on my child's birth certificate. Or then I can still tell them, and then but still you see older auntie comes and they'll be calling this child a different name from what the parents are calling him. Another older cousin or an uncle will come and they'll call the child a different name, because that was what they named the child. And once they called you, you will answer to whatever name you have been called. That is mainly in the Yoruba society and other parts of Nigerian society. But they also have most of these. There are people now also in America, in the university, I think also in Howard University, who is trying now to bring together. They are now writing a lot about the richness, the culture of the African tradition, and they're trying now to compare it with Western religion, and now Westernization has actually messed up the traditional African religion, and now Westernization is actually overtaking Africa, and slowly, if we are really not careful, we're gonna lose that rich culture. I'm a Christian, I'm a minister, I preach the word of God, I believe in Christ Jesus, and I preach the raw gospel, but I still do like practicing my African. I'm always wearing African clothes. More than half of my clothes are African, they're Africana, and I don't only wear Sierra Leonean clothes. I wear clothes across Africa. I have materials made from South Africa, material made from Zambia, because I also spent about 18 months in Zambia, in university there studying youth social work. Going to Kenya, I've spent some time also in Kenya, so I use all of their clothes. I've learned some of their cultures, the way they will greet, the way the elder in Africa are held in high esteem. Anybody that is older than you is held in high esteem. In fact, in London these days, because Nigerian children will call every black woman auntie, regardless if they are your mother's sister, regardless even if they're not related to you, because it's been inbred in them that every adult woman is your auntie. Now even white people are calling us auntie. That when we go somewhere and you see the ones that have been around the Nigeria culture, the African culture, you will see at the end of the day there was a white boy was calling me, "Hello, auntie, good morning, auntie," and I was trying to make sure that it's not an African child around me. But they have learned it, and they have now learned how to give us respect. You will never know it is been, and women have played that role. They try to make sure these children know how to. Women are there that are standing to discipline their children, and in discipline their children, these children are taking it out there. So women have a very big role to play in keeping the African tradition going. The good aspects, there are also bad aspects of it, because they are, as much as they believe that the ancestors and everything are there to protect them, they also know that there is also witchcraft being practiced, which is also part of the African religion. The witchcraft, which is the wicked beast, where there, and voodooism that is in Haiti also was from the Bantu tribe of Africa and the western and northern part of Africa. The voodooism, there's witchcraft. They will go to the medicine man, the shaman, the Moe man. I'm trying to get all the name. The Moe man and and so on and so the Karamoko. And these are all the names. These were leaders, and people go to them for different things. And some of them have been dabbing in this negative supernatural. Some of them have been doing business with wickedness, with Satan, and they're getting some powers for Satan. It is them, the part of the other part of that religion is holding people bound, is manipulating people to believe. Some of them are using black magic, what we call black magic. In this area, people go to the medium, and some people they're covering things. We also have it in Africa. In Sierra Leone, they call it you covering Gina Musa, and then somebody will start talking through this person that is the medicine woman, and you, the person that is there, you would think you're hearing your grandmother that has been dead for 30, 40 years, a voice, or your dad or your mom or that uncle, and they will be asking questions and conversation will be going. And I've seen it being done even in the Western world with the people, the mediums, the clairvoyants. They are also doing things where they said we are hearing voices. All of that also is also incorporated in African religion. The spirituality, we have the good aspects of the spirituality, we have the bad aspects of the spirituality, where people are dabbing in black magic and all kind of magic to manipulate people, to hold them bound, and other things. And also people are also now, because now the world is wicked, everybody want to make money quickly, and they're finding ways of making money. They are all over the Facebook, they are all over all the social media platform. You've seen them advertising, they're there, and they're calling all things, trying to manipulate people. And there are people who died and believe them. But some of these people will still go to church on Sunday, or they will be on the Bible study on Wednesday, or they will be there. They will still read their Bible. And some of these people, some of those charm that they are making, that they're giving to people, you will either see verses from the Quran in it, or they're also using verses from the Bible written in it. So most people would then become confused, and they are thinking that okay, all the religion are the same. However, it is not the same. There are some richness in there. There are the dances. Some of the dances, some could be provocative, but there are dances in Africa that is dying out. We saw from the beginning the video, that is definitely a church wedding, and after the church wedding, you see the cultural people. It's a culture from the Creole there, dancing to the gumbe, rejoicing because the child has been taken, is now joined in marriage. The two families are coming together, rejoicing, and after the couples have been blessed, we're not coming, and that will be throughout the party, dancing. Money will be thrown away. We'll be partying. There will be Western music playing. We'll come back. We dance to our gumbe and stuff like that. We wear our traditional dresses. There is different. We have our gara. We have the Ankara as Nigeria. We call them. They have the kente as a Ghanaian. We call them. It's a chichenge as they will call it in mainly Southern Africa. All of that. It's a rapper as the Kenyans will call them. We also have what the Sierra will call the cuttings. We now have lace. Now other people now, in fact, the other people now. The other day there was one of the very very most expensive shop in the United Kingdom called Harrods. people, Arabs, a lot of people goes there. They know the rich people, and you know what? They made a very simple dress from Ankara or cotton or chichenge, and that thing was costing. It was 1,500 pounds. And you know what? People were going around, we're taking pictures and sending it because you're looking at it, and it's not like one of my dresses that I've made in Freetown, Sierra Leone by one of my tailor is nowhere near it where they have this where they have designed my own chichenge or my cotton very well, and they are selling it, and there'll be somebody who will buy it, who will wear it, who will be even be proud to wear it. It might not even be an African or a black person, but I will wear it. But I would go back to Sierra Leone whenever I go there, and I will have that for less than £10, and it will be more beautiful than that. So we should, and I agree with everybody, in as much as we are in Western countries, our culture, our food, when you think of our food, how diverse our food, this was all part of an African tradition, religion, and is also now food is also a biggie in Islam and in Christianity. Food is there. In Christianity, the first food we had is the Holy Communion, the body and the blood of Jesus Christ. It's a food. But in Africa, there is diverse food. There is fufu. How many in the whole of West Africa, everybody love fufu. It is made from cassava, from corn, from sorghum. There's quite a lot of things. And millet. You go to Uganda, they have their millet porridge. They have everything. They're using plantain. There's so much thing that fufu is made from, all of them from the African continent, and even rice. They can even make rice and call it ground rice. All of this comes from the African continent. The cassava, the sweet potatoes, the plantains, our bananas, mangoes, our oranges, our pawpaw, and the leaves there. The leaves. The leaves that most of these Western people are using as medication. I said to my children, now I said you escape. Some of you escape what we went through until we were um, teenagers. Because my grandmother, if you're in my grandmother's house, you will drink abo. I'm talking across to other Nigerians and other people and say, oh yeah, we used to also have abo. It's a concussion of herbs, leaves, and things. It's quite bitter. You will have to drink it every day. Every day in the morning you drink a cup of that. It says it keeps the diseases, it keeps things away. And I attribute to some of the herbs that we have because we had older elders who took the time in making sure they kept us alive. But as most of us started going and traveling around, and we lost forests, people start planting, the forests had been destroyed. We start losing some of those our vegetables. One very good thing that now a lot of people are saying that it's good for diabetes. It is quite expensive now in America. It's there already in Africa. We have all of them. They're showing us now all these leaves that we never knew, and those are things we were drinking when we were young.
Yeah.
And now, now they're saying close. It can do so much things. All of this was being included in what was being boiled, the ginger and all the roots and herbs and things like that. So let us keep our culture. Let us, as Christians and Muslims, let us hold on. Let's keep showing our counterparts in the Western culture that if you are a conservative Christian, you are either going to be the Christian and have the honesty and the morality and keep going, knowing that you are backed by Christ. And as somebody said to me the other day as we we're having a discussion, he said, I believe that Jesus came to die for the sinners, but hate sin. So even us as Africans, as most of us have a background where there are things we will not dare do, because anybody in the society can correct you, even as we're in the diaspora, let us remember and keep doing the right things. And God, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost will keep us going in Jesus' name. And I close for now. And I hand over again to you, Abbott. And if there's discussion, all of us can do the discussion.
Thank you, Daphne. What a wonderful um, discussion. What a wonderful and sensitive topic. You know, there are times, and again, you open my eyes as well. And when you connect our African tradition and our religion and our honesty, and to that of the Christian values, and again, a Muslim will have the same values as well. So that's it. It's an eye opener. Maybe might be things that we don't know. Like when people are saying, I'm an African and I believe in this tradition and this and that and that, as long as that tradition or that thing that you're doing in your African culture, it's not evil. Then, and as long as if you're Muslim, you recognize that, you know what, this is against the will of Allah. You don't practice it. And as long as if you're a Christian, you know that this is against the teachings and biblical principles of God, then you don't practice it. But again, I'll quote as Miss Dolly initially said, let's keep the as we're keeping the African accent, keeping the African values, let don't forget about our African religion and tradition, because this is what we have as culture. And again, as long as it doesn't affect the principles of God and the Holy Spirit, yeah, keep practicing it, keep doing it, and you will definitely enjoy your life and your culture. You know, the other day I was on Facebook. There was um, a wedding that was going on in America, and but we have everything that was happening on Facebook. And again, the spokesperson, the one that actually conducted this engagement in Africa, um, from an African background, um, I spoke with an, a commender for the tremendous job that she actually did, because for us as an African to sort of keep our culture and then actually establish that in a stage or a center stage wherein our culture must be dying, it's really significant for you to go and do an extremely good job. What I want to talk about now is the African engagement. So here I've been living here for a long time now. Um, what I see and what I hear when people are dating and when they want to get engaged, probably we just see a photo on Facebook, or as a or you might just, as a parent, you might just see your son or your daughter send you a photo, and say the next moment they will say, I'm engaged. But again, as an African or the African culture, it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. I want to talk about the African engagement. So even, excuse me, before the engagement, this doesn't happen in my time, I'll say this, but what I've learned from older people, and again, people in the panel can correct me if I'm wrong, to say long time ago, from the African background, if you were dating somebody or you want to date somebody, your parents actually have to go and ask that family. Or even before that, before you get to that stage, some teenagers, when they started dating, or if a girl child realized that, you know what, I need to have a boyfriend, I need to start dating. And once they have this individual and they want to bring this individual to their family, to introduce them to their family, first of all, that individual, this is what I learned, must write a letter to this girl's family to say, I'm seeing your daughter, blah, 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 and things like that. And then that child will take that letter to to the mother or the father and give that, and probably the father or the mother will accept it, and then maybe the boy will start coming home. And probably it's easy on the other side, on the boy's side, because again, if a boy, like as a mother, you see your son is getting to that stage where they need a girlfriend or whatever. Again, male family, they're always open up or accept things. So they can sneak that girl, they can allow the girl to come in. But probably on the other side, when it comes to the girl's side, the parents are very strict, because I would say they're very strict because it's only a girl that will carry pregnancy for 9 months, and everybody knows that they're pregnant. But a boy might have a girl pregnant, and nobody know that that boy is also having a baby. So again, probably that's why that sort of security is coming, wherein a child, the traditionally people will accept the boy to write a letter to know that, okay, I'm seeing your daughter and things like that. But fast forward, things change, and those phrases, maybe some people are still accepting those things, or walking, are old fashioned walking with those things. But what of the African engagement? So once we pass that stage wherein the family know now that these two people, young people, are seeing each other, and they want to go for a lifetime, they want to get married, and all the other things has been done in the back scene. Now we come to the engagement. So now both family know each other. They're now coming to say, okay, this is the first step of getting married. So instead of you, the boy, go, oh, will you marry me, and things like that, kneel down, you put the ring, and then she said yes, you put the ring on it, and then you take that nice photo, send to your parent, and say, oh, she said yes, and then the next minute they plan marriage. No, it doesn't happen in the African culture. So we organize our engagement. So what will happen? The male family will come into the house, or setting wherever they decided to have this, into the girl's family, to say they want to ask for their hand in marriage. Obviously, they know they want to get married to this person, right? But it's something entertaining as well. So they will come to this house. They will lock the door. It might be during the day, but they will still say, oh, it's a nighttime. They'll lock the door, and then they will knock on the door. They might be there 20 minutes knocking on the door, and this family, the guy's family, will be giving them hard time. Why are you knocking my door? We're sleeping. Hey, in the middle of the day, right? We're sleeping. Why are you knocking our door? Why are you disturbing us? And these people on the outside, which will be the male family, the groom's family, will be giving them all sort of reason why they need to open the door, they need to come in there. So eventually they'll open the door, come as normal human being would be. If somebody is facing an attack or whatever, you open your door for them to come in, because they might use that as a strategy. So once they come in there, they'll start sweet talking this the bride's family as to the reason why they're here. They'll begin to bring all those extended family and this and that, begin to use those sort of things. Again, it's entertaining, but again, it's a way of persuading this family to accept them again into the inner caucus of the house. So they'll pass that, and then once they get in properly in the house, and they will be offered maybe water or something to say they are welcome in the house. Then the groom's family now will say to them, the reason why we're here to pluck a rose from your garden. Meaning it's a proverb to say we're here to get one of your daughter that you've been raising up nicely. We want to take them for hand in marriage. So again, they will have that, and these people will be saying, how come my roof, my fence is so high? How come are you seeing the rose that I'm planting, I'm watering, blah, 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 and things like that. So they will sweet talk them, and eventually they will say, okay, the only rose that we have here is just a little one. It's not even grown properly yet. So these people will sweet talk them, and they'll say, okay, go and take it. But they will ask also for money. To say, okay, if you want me to go and take my rose, I've been working on this rose for a long time. Can you give me some transport to go and take it? So they will go and take this rose. And I bet you this bride family will go and take the most miserable person in the background and bring them here. It might be like a 4-year-old or 3-year-old and bring this to the groom's family to say, this is the only rose that we have. Is that what you're after? And obviously they will say no. They'll keep going back and forth, maybe 4, 5, 6 people. They might even come with the oldest person that they have in the family to show to this family to say, this is the roles that we have. So they'll do that, and eventually they'll be able to come with the proper bride to say, this is the person that we have. Is this what you're looking for? And then eventually they will say, yes, this is the person we're looking for, and this is the one that we're here for. And then these people will give them what they come with. So they will come with what we call a calabash. So it's like a wooden bowl. It will have different things in it. For a Christian, it will have a Bible. For a Muslim, it will have a Quran. But if it's a mixed marriage, Christian and Muslim, because in our culture in Sierra Leone, we do interreligious marriage. So Christian can get married to a Muslim can get married to a Christian, either way. So if that's the sort of setting, we'll have both in there, a Quran and a Bible. We'll have needle, we'll have thread, we'll have cola, we'll have different things. We'll have what they call atari, and different things in there will be in that calabash. These are things that this woman will be using in the home once they get married. They will have what we call the bride price. And again, in the Western world, I don't know, because when they go and do that engagement, probably in a nice restaurant, and then it's only me and my partner, wife to be, there we just propose, and she answered, and then we take a photo. There's no what they call bride price there. So in that engagement, the African engagement, there will be different envelopes with different money. They'll give money for the person that raised the child, for the neighbors, the brothers, the sister, the cousin, the aunties, the uncles, the bride price. Sometimes they call that what they call, again, I don't know the meaning. It's just a word that I normally hear. They will say it's the trousseau money. That's from the Sierra Leone culture. We'll have what they call the trousseau money in there as well. So different sort of money that will be in that wooden bowl, calabash, will be given to this family. Once this family, they give it to the bride, they accept it, and also they will have the ring in there, the engagement ring in there. Once they accept it, the girl will give it to the parents or any elder in the house. They will accept it. And once they accept it, it means they've accepted the proposal of this young man that wants to get married to this woman. And then the family will also give something in exchange to say, we accept this. And that's the engagement. It might be later on, the groom will come, and then there will be party, there will be dancing, and things like that. So again, these are the things that we should not forget, we should not leave behind. Again, when as an African people, let's get our children, our young people to say, you know what, let's maintain this. Because if we just go, they might do whatever it's common in their culture to say, go, propose, and then the answer come to us, and then we normally step up and do what is necessary. Because this is a moment that also brings the family together. Each family know each other, where they stand, and if something might go wrong in that marriage, this family might come together and solve this issue, solve this problem, knowing that it was us that actually came and asked for a hand in marriage, rather than go to a nice restaurant, my son proposed, and send me a photo, and the next moment, in 2 months' time, we go to the registry, we'll sign or have a wedding, which we never had any input in. So that's the African engagement. Again, keep your comments of how you do it in your own culture, or where you come from, or things that you've witnessed. I've witnessed engagement that completely different from where I come from. So, and I've learned that as well. And again, sometimes I incorporate that, especially living in a Western world. I incorporate that when I have the opportunity to partake in engagements like this. It's a fun atmosphere when the ring is given and exchange, the gifts are given and exchange of gift. There will be party. The bride will be coming, dancing. The groom will be coming, dancing, and it's something that we all enjoy. So again, in our question time, we can have those questions, or we can read comments with regards to that. So our next segment will be a question and answer session. So, and again, when I've learned so much from these few moments that I've met our elder, our uncle, Fasaha. I think he's a man of knowledge, and again, based on the background I've given for him as well, he's a man of knowledge. He's a man that everyone wants to call an uncle, and he's always available to save the day, not only for Alafia, for again people in his community. So, for our question and answer, I will introduce the backbone of Alafia and the person that has been helping Etlin, Uncle Fasaha. Excuse me, I'm not going to call your last name because you told me you inherited that last name from your father. So I will stick to Fasaha. Uncle Fasaha will take us for our Q&A. Let's welcome him.
Thank you, Herbert, and I really appreciate for it's an honor for me. I will not lie what I do not know. I will say I do not know what I know. I will not reserve as knowledge for the community, and that's I believe because the more we know, our community is empowered. So, I'm sorry, I have a back. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
I have this feedback coming back to me. The question and answer he expecting me to do is what would he like me to approach? How I would like to approach it.
We're doing it together. I
Hmm.
will be asking you questions.
Okay.
Okay, so we are talking about the African political system. So,
Hmm.
first, can you explain to us the structure of the African political system?
Well, there are. We have to look into the African continent as the oldest continent to begin with, from uh, where humanity has started. Number one. Number two, civilization started there. Number three, we are a continent within a continent because we do have multiple languages and cultures, but also we have what we call the African ethos, which means we have a value system that can be recognized across the continent, regardless whether you are north, south, or east to west. As an African person, one is community, the other one is family. Minister Daphne said that the traditional African religion has been there, and the concept of God is the God, the creator above all things, has been always there. Other religions were accommodated because the African religious tradition has been very accommodating, very accepting. That we should not forget. So, as your question, what is the African politics? That's why I wanted to give you a foundational. If you go, number one, let's go to Egypt, the origin of African civilization or the world civilization. How did they consider themselves? The Egyptians said that our ancestors came from the hinterland of Africa, following the Nile. And they also said, believed that their gods lived in the hinterland of Africa, in the Black Africa, because the Nile was a life giving. As a society, their political structure was very well organized and influenced the rest of the world. We should not forget that one. The ancient African tradition, though we see it as a civilization that influenced the rest of the world, African traditional cultures, the kingdoms of Nubia, of Aksum, the kingdoms of Ghana, of Benin, the kingdoms of Zimbabwe, the kingdoms of Mali, all these are empires that were highly structured and well organized. Now the world is memorializing Queen Elizabeth, the queen that for the Great Britain and including the Commonwealth. But in Africa, a queen ruled on her own term, not only because she didn't have a brother that would be heir to the throne, but in the African tradition, women ruled as political powers on their own terms. The Queen of Sheba, Nefertiti, and the mother, the Queen Mother in many parts of Africa, who are the kingmakers. This was a very highly structured society, but we did not really fully understand, because as this political structure were evolving with sophistication, slave trade came, disrupted it. Colonization came and disrupted it. As a result, Africa became a fractured continent. That fractured continent also took away a lot of our identity. If you talk in West Africa, we say the Anglophone and the Francophone. We don't even recognize our own Niger, Congo, Bantu, Cushitic or Semitic languages of Africa, or the Berber or all those languages which are indigenous to Africa. We have more in common. But now the African politics of today is where we need to focus. The scramble of Africa in 1884 in Berlin made a continent that was organized according to ethnic and language groups, or sometimes that organized cross language, cross ethnic, as federated states or kingdoms. All of a sudden, communities that were divided, they were supposed to be together overnight. There was a line across them. The Ghanaians and the Togos became strangers to each other. The Eritreans and the Ethiopians became strangers to each other. The Egyptians and the Sudanese became strangers to each other. And the list goes on. When in 1960s, Africans became or striving to be independent from colonial powers, what happened? We created a nation state, a new identity, and we try to employ a political structure that resembled the colonial power structure. So, that colonial power structure was top down, based on force and violence. When we became nation state, our rulers became violent to their own people. On top of that, the world was divided between West and East ideologies, political ideologies, which I call them two faces of the same coin. The left, the socialism, is coined uh, in Western Europe, though exported to Russia and other parts of the world. Capitalism is coined. This was the product of transatlantic slave trade. This, by nature, are very supremacistic and very chauvinistic political systems. As a result, when we employ those that are not even cultural based to Africa, in order to implement them, violence became the means. Because we are alienated not only when we from our culture, not only when we are in the diaspora, also within our own continent. Definitely, it's not the African American in this country that was violently taken away from Africa and disoriented here, that lost identity, but also we lost identity the minute we call ourselves Francophone and Anglophone. We have given power and given up our own power to the West or to the colonial powers. That's why we are in this dire situation in Africa. And while political violence is the rule of the day, misappropriation of the resources or exploitation of the African resources has become a way of life, because we are no longer in power of our political structure. In Africa, in the old kingdoms, very rarely became power ascendancy was very rarely used by force. There were the elders. There was not even a straight line, father to son throne, but it was the elders that made the discernment who is the rightful person who can rule us with wisdom. It could be the youngest child, or it could be the middle child, or it could be a woman. So those are the traditional ways, and where we are today is because we are far away from that value system. I'm ready to entertain your questions once I believe I have given enough background. Thank you.
Thank you so much, guys. Wow. I didn't lie at all. You're full of knowledge. Evelyn, you still have any other question?
Yes. So
Okay, go on.
another question is, why are African leaders so corrupt? Is it the West? Is it the leader themselves or the people of Africa causing the problem? This system is so corrupt. Who is the problem for that corruption?
Somehow I touched it because, number one, once you are alienated from your own culture, from your own identity, your values are compromised. So our leaders are alienated from their culture. They are educated or trained. I don't even call them educated. They are trained to do what their masters, the colonial masters, want them to do. If our African leaders rule by justice and honesty, the resources will be distributed equitably to their people. Infrastructures will be built, schools will be built, hospitals will be built. Who is going to be benefiting? The local people. At what expense? Because those old colonizers who became neo colonizers are going to lose benefit. So it is our chaos that will benefit them. There is an Eritrean saying, a greedy guest prays for a dinner where husband and wife are fighting. That's where we are. Because these people are not put in power to take our people's interest, but they are there to keep the interests of those who are in power or with the money or who need African resources, whether it's diamond in Liberia and Sierra Leone and in the Congo or other resources, petroleum and other things like Nigeria and other parts. So we have to know why we are. Yes, we are at fault. We allowed ourselves to be ruled, but also sometimes we are not in real control because every time we have an honest leader trying to do things overnight, that person is gone or a coup d'etat takes place. Did I
Okay.
answer your question?
Yeah, that's answered the question. I have a question here from an audience member. Say, the question say, what are the innovative ways the diaspora can utilize to advance the economy of African countries? So this person is talking about Africans that are living in the West. How can they fix this corrupt system?
It's a very good question and it's a challenging question, but at the same time, we have to see, are we on the same page as Africans here? This is a good start where you are bringing us so that we are in a dialogue and try to understand. But we have to be in a dialogue, in conversation with each other. We have a lot of educated, a lot of business people from Africa who could invest back in the continent. Let me tell you, when Miss Dolly and you know that I was the director of the Pan African Community Association, and we used to bring a lot of different people. One time, a former prime minister of Rwanda joined us here in Milwaukee as we were gathering, and he said, "You Africans and African Americans are the hope of Africa because you live in the biggest democracy of the world, and yet if you come together, you have the power to influence your government so that Africa becomes a place of development, not a place of war." Yes, we can do. There is a brain drain that's going on every day. A lot of us here, we could do much better developing our people, though the payment may not be as we get it here, but still we would be benefiting our people. However, the political environment is very hostile to people of means, to people with knowledge and skills. Let me tell you, I'm from Eritrea. I have not been in Eritrea since 1991, 31 years. Why? Because the political environment would not allow me. to go back and do anything. I would threaten my own life. I tell people I would not even make it past the airport. So we have to work hard together to bring political stability and end of violence. As we speak, millions of Ethiopians are being displaced because of a civil war. As we speak, millions of Congolese are being displaced and killed. Their precious resources are still exploited and exported with no benefit to the people. But if we are together here, we are a power to condemn, because we are Africans and African Americans. We are about 13 to 15% of the American population, which means we have a political capital that we can influence the policymakers. No business maker is going to invest in Africa when there is no political stability. No American businessman, white or black, is going to invest in Africa when there is no political stability. Thank you.
Yeah, that's all the question we have. Over to you. But I think Dolly have a question.
You
You're
said
on
when
mute,
there's
Miss
no
Dolly. We can hear you. Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay. You said when there's no political stability, but hand in hand with that, from where I sit and from what I see, is the rampant corruption that exists in a lot of African countries, particularly in Liberia. Right now, I'm hearing that the US government is sanctioning a lot of government officials. They aren't able to come, to leave Liberia to come here because of the rampant corruption that's going on. And to me, if that's what it's going to take, to try to begin to stop some of this corruption, then that's what they need to do. I take my hat off to them. Somebody has to give accountability. Someone has to do something about what is going on. And it makes me so sad, like Fasad said, he hadn't been in his country in so many years. I myself, I have not been to Liberia in 30 something years. And people are saying to me, why don't you come home and stay? Why don't you come and stay? Come and find, get a government job, or we'll help you get a government job. We'll help you to, even if you want to become an ambassador or something, the UK, whatever, we can help you to do that. And it's like, absolutely not, because things are still not straight. Why should I leave here and go there and knowing fully well that things are still not going the way it's supposed to go? It's still too much corruption. And all I will be is get frustrated and then turn around and come back. One of my pet peeves is that the fact that the medical system is so poor in Liberia. It's just unbelievable. And it makes me so sad because I would say years ago, growing up there, Liberia was one of the shining stars in Africa in terms of best universities, best medical facilities, best law schools. And people used to come from all around the world to go to school, to attend the law school, to attend the medical school, the nursing school, et cetera, et cetera. And it's like everything has just gone downhill since that civil war took place years ago. Nothing seems to be moving forward. Whenever a president goes there, nothing seems to happen. Nothing happens. The country does not progress. And it is so sad to me. So there's no way anyone that has a medical condition, whether it is sickle cell or diabetes or whatever, should leave United States, for example, or UK or Australia or Europe or America, where there's better medical facility and go and say, let me go back home and try to make a difference. You just go in there to die because there isn't. The death toll is so high. Before a person can even get into the hospital to get a bed, I'm hearing that people are dying right there in the hospital yard because they don't have enough beds, they don't have the proper medical equipment. It's just sad. It's really sad. But on a different note, though, let me just say something that Pastor Daphne said. She mentioned a drink that growing up in Sierra Leone they used to drink every morning. I smiled when she said that because growing up in Liberia, we used to drink a drink also that we hated to drink, but it was supposed to have all kinds of medicinal um, good points or whatever to it. It tasted horrible. It was extremely bitter. It was made from leaves and roots, and it was called ojolobo. And every morning when they came around to give us that ojolobo, we almost like died. But we stayed healthy as a result of that. So I just wanted to mention that because I could also reference it, and it made me smile, brought back childhood memories.
Thanks, Miss Dolly. I think what we need to give the African politicians is the Odolobo, so that their mental
Yes,
thinking and everything will will come in place. So they will stop exploiting
it'll
individuals.
make them
So
stronger.
it will make them
It will make
stronger.
them healthier and stronger.
And stronger, yeah, yeah. So
They need
whether it's
something different.
Odolobo, whether it's Apple, whatever it is, whatever that African that African
Tonic,
builder's
the tonic.
medicine is.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
if I may interject here, it is
Yeah.
we have lost, we have been estranged from our value system. Minister
Mm.
Daphne
yes,
told us that regardless what religious tradition you follow, honesty and
yes,
accountability is part.
yes,
Mm.
Anybody, a village elder, will correct you if you are deviating from
From
the
that.
social
Mm.
norms, from the moral norms.
yeah,
We don't
Mm.
have that
yeah.
one. Great,
No,
but
we
this is
don't. We
also
must.
we are we are to be blamed, but at the same time, that's how we have inherited, taking whatever you want by violence, by force, by cheatery, the
Mm.
resources
Yes,
that are around you. But in Africa, there was no land ownership; it belongs to the community, and the
Yep.
community.
yes,
But when the colonial powers said, "This is yours, this is mine," and everything I wanted is mine,
Mm.
that greediness, lack of value, and estrangement from our African value system corrupted us. Now we are in that
hmm, yeah,
period where we don't even know what is right, what is wrong. All you need is almost we have
nothing.
taken
Yes,
that to be
yes,
rich is a blessing from God, but we don't even question that I am taking it from my brother or sister who is living in abject
mhm,
poverty.
Mm. That's good.
mhm.
Thanks for that comment
Well,
there.
it's
And
like we just
my
don't
encourage,
care. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, my encouragement and advice to African politicians is to take notes of what is happening, and for us, the people as well. We should work hard and try by all means not to be influenced by them. We should stand our grounds, whether it's
Mhm,
constantly going to the poll to change them from time to time, even if we give them just one term, then probably they'll learn from their mistake to say, you know what, these people are not happy with
mhm.
us. That's why we can't even go for a second term. We just have one term to fix our thing. If we're not doing that, we're out. So the atmosphere will change. The atmosphere will change. But what we also seeing is they're suppressing people. When they speak, when they know they're
Yes,
not doing the right thing, They constantly suppress
Mm-hmm.
the people, and people don't have a voice. But
Mm-hmm.
it will be our prayer, whether you're Muslim,
Mm-hmm.
you're Christian, what we should be praying for people that are here. Let's pray that our people will have their voice again, so that they will
Yes.
not be influenced by our politicians. So thank you for the
Mm-hmm.
contributions that you have made so far, each and every one of us. Um, we'll move straight away to what is another issue that is affecting um, people, affecting family, that is breaking homes, that people are looking at it as a taboo to speak out, to 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 lift their hands up, to say I need help, to come out of it. So it's what the person that will be talking on this is somebody that has been working for over 40 years in this area. So um, she's a specialty in this area, and she just mentioned that she has been getting encouragement to go back home. But again, if she goes back home to make a difference there, um, the health facility is not there to keep her up. Um, the corruption is there, so she will not even have the voice to do her job well. So we'll be talking now about family violence in African countries compared to family violence in the U.S. So in this, I'll welcome Miss Dolly Grimes Johnson to be speaking about that. Let's put our hands together for Miss Dolly. Miss Dolly, you have the spotlight.
Williams, huh? Can you see me?
Yes, yes, I can see you. I can hear you now.
Okay. Okay. Um, like Mr. Williams said, my name is Dolly Grimes Johnson, and originally from Liberia, West Africa. And I came to this country years ago. Um, and what brought me here basically was to go to school and get a college degree and get a degree in social work was what I wanted to do since I decided I didn't want to go into the medical field per se as a doctor or nurse. Somewhere down the line, I got turned away from that. And so I decided to do that. I wanted to study social work. And in order to do that, I had to come here because there weren't any social work programs in Liberia to study, programs, at the schools to study. So I had to come here to the US, sponsored by my parents, thank God. And so I've been here for a long time. And over the years, I was able to get also master's degrees in social work, in counseling, and after that, got a job working at Sojourner for 36 years in the area of domestic violence. And while there, I was able to work with so many women and so many children and men that had issues of not only domestic violence, but sexual assault, human trafficking as well. And currently, I am with Alafia Family Resource Center, and you already heard from Mr. Williams the meaning of Alafia. And when you hear Alafia, the word Alafia, which is a word that's across, West Africa, it basically means peace. But when you talk about domestic violence, um, there is no peace. There is absolutely no peace for those that are experiencing domestic violence, whether it's here in the United States or in Africa. There is no peace because they are constantly on a battlefield and dealing with extreme issues. So the issue is so huge, it's so big. It's an age-old problem. Domestic violence is a huge one. It goes way, way back. And so this is not a problem that discriminates. It affects all aspects of society. All around the world has its share of domestic violence. The United States certainly has its share. It is said that every 9 seconds, a woman is abused or assaulted here in the United States. Just think about that for a moment. Every 9 seconds. That's a lot of abuse occurring. Unfortunately, in Africa, even though it's occurring there, we don't have that kind of information available to us. Those stats, those numbers are not available like that. People are still operating on a different system. Africa used to, no, US used to operate the way Africa is still operating. And that is treating it as a personal matter, treating it as only a family matter. It happened within your home, so it doesn't concern anyone else. It is your particular family business, and no one else has the right to say anything at all about it. And that has been a problem for many, many years. Many, many years. Now, as huge as Africa is, it's going to be very difficult to go country by country by country to address or even talk about domestic violence in this short time that we have. And so I'll just focus on one or two countries, just briefly touch on one or two countries in trying to do a comparison of domestic violence in some African countries and domestic violence in the US. For example, in Kenya, which is in the eastern part of Africa, as we know, it is stated that the situation of violence against women is so severe, and especially so since 2014. Now, it was stated that 41% of women experience physical or sexual violence from their husbands or partners, And just know that that number, 41%, that's low, but that's what's reported. In Ghana, for example, which is in West Africa, Ghana, which is considered to be the second safest country in Africa, is the most unsafe country for women. Travelers and visitors that go to Ghana, they love it. They feel comfortable. They can travel and move around safely. But the women that are in domestic violence situations, abusive situations, are very, very unsafe and cannot be at peace. Cannot be at peace due to family and partner abuse. So there's so much to be done. In Morocco, for example, in North Africa, I'm going east-west, one from east, one from north, one from west, and so forth. In Morocco, North Africa, it is stated that the violence against women have increased about 31.6% since about March of 2018, 2019 to 2020. 2020, we are talking about COVID now around the world, and they had a huge shutdown. So think about when COVID hit, how much of a problem it impacted those that were experiencing domestic violence. They were experiencing it before, it was bad, but it got worse. Why did it get worse? You talk about isolation as one of the key things that happens when you talk about domestic violence. And these victims became more and more isolated. The saying was shelter at home. Shelter at home. How many times did we not hear that? Shelter at home. And it is said that a person's home is supposed to be one of the safest, if not the safest place to be. You go in your house, you close your door, you lock it, you are supposed to be safe from the world. But if you are experiencing domestic violence, sexual abuse, harassment, verbal abuse, physical abuse in any shape or form, intimidation, threats on a regular and ongoing basis, you cannot feel safe. It's difficult to shelter at home. You could not go out during COVID time. You have to stay in. And it worked on everybody's nerves, the abuser, the person being abused, and if there were children involved, they were definitely affected because they were being homeschooled, learning online, nowhere to escape, nowhere, absolutely nowhere. So COVID certainly provided more isolation, more depression, more mental health issues surfaced, more suicide. All of that became high rate. In South Africa, I mean, I could say a whole lot more about that and do a comparison between COVID times and domestic violence and the impact it's had. But let me continue with the countries. South Africa, which is at the southern tip of Africa, is reported to have the highest number of cases of violence against women in the world, in South Africa. But fortunately, they recognize that it's a problem in their country and they have begun to take steps to do something about it. In 1998, I was fortunate to be a part of a team that went from Milwaukee to South Africa, and we visited 5 different cities. And in those cities, we did the domestic violence presentations with our South African counterparts. And I was not only me, we were all so pleased to see that South Africa was starting to do something, taking steps towards addressing domestic violence issues. And what were they doing? We visited some villages too. We went to one in particular, went to Soweto. And when we got there, the people thought that we were part of the commission. And it's like, no, we're not part of the commission. We're not here to listen to, we can listen, but we can't do anything about the crimes that were committed against the people here. We are here to talk about and to listen about what is happening about domestic violence in this area, in South Africa. And they were more than happy to share the stories, lots of stories of how the women were talking about how they were being abused and they felt like there was nowhere to turn. They didn't have the resources. They didn't know where to go. They didn't have any money. They said they were so poor, they just didn't know what to do. They would turn to their tribesmen. The tribesmen were telling them, we're trying to mediate, between the two sides, the two families, because the families got involved. Those abused women turned to their family members. The family members took it to the tribesmen, and the tribesmen tried to intervene in the situation without having to take it further. So when they couldn't, resolve the conflict or the problem, then they took it to a larger council and tried to work at it. In the urban areas, other things were happening because then you have the legal system getting involved. You had the police officers investigating domestic violence crimes. It was considered a crime against women or against whomever was being abused. It could be a man. It doesn't have to be just a woman. So you had the police doing investigations. You had the district attorney's office involved. You had the court systems involved. You had people, the probation and parole, the prisons, just like it is here in America, with these systems getting involved. They were getting involved in South Africa, and trying to hold these abusers accountable, holding them accountable. The other thing was interesting was that the religious council people were also trying to mediate and bring about some kind of resolution to these families that were experiencing domestic violence as well. So again, it was a privilege for me to be able to talk to some of those women, to hear their stories, and to also visit a shelter there in one of the cities. And we found that, my God, this was like almost being in a shelter here in Milwaukee, from the pictures on the wall to the way how things were running the shelter to listening again to their stories. And then the women inviting us, not all of us, but we who were from the team that worked in shelter, was 3 of us. They invited us to attend their support group. And it felt just like here in Milwaukee that I was attending a support group here, listening to the women here in Milwaukee tell their stories. So much similarities. And their concerns, again, I mentioned them saying they had nowhere to go. How many times over the years have I not heard women say, I had nowhere to go. I didn't know where to turn. I had no one to turn to. No one would listen to me. I was too afraid to reach out because I was threatened. My children were threatened. My parents were threatened that we will be killed. They will be killed. I heard the same thing in South Africa as well. And it's like, wow, it resonated with me. Alone. How many of us want to be alone? We all want to be connected to somebody, a family member, and so forth. We want to be with someone. We really don't want to be alone. So, again, those are all universal concerns, whether you're here in the United States, you're in Europe, or you're in Africa. That fear is universal, whether it's the fear for your life, the fear of losing your children to some kind of welfare system of some sort, um, being alone, not knowing the resources. All of that is real. It's a real concern for all women all around the world. And domestic violence, the only way there's going to be a change is if all systems get involved. All systems. We're talking about the legal system. We're talking about the religious system. In Milwaukee, for example, every corner has a bar and then there's a church. And you wonder, with all those churches on those corner streets, that things will be better in Milwaukee, for example. But it's been so many homicides, so many domestic violence, so many women have been murdered lately as a result of domestic violence. So to me, that tells me that there's still a whole lot more work to be done. We've come a long way, but there's still more work to be done. And everybody has to get involved. So again, the churches need to come, the pastors need to open their doors, and they need to come out of the pulpit. Because the church itself will not take ownership of the problem on its own. It's a leadership issue. It has to come from the top, from the pulpit. So if the pastor, the preacher, the priest, the rabbi, whomever you are, is in the pulpit, is at the top, preaching against domestic violence, trying to find solution, there might be a buy-in. There might be a buy-in. But again, the church has got to be involved. The legal system, police, DA's office, court system, probation and parole, all of the arm of the legal system has to be involved. The school systems, the community as a whole has to come together to try to solve this problem, because this is not a problem that can be solved by one person. It takes everybody. Like the saying go, it takes a village. Well, that's the village right there. And it cannot be one agency trying to solve the problem, because one agency cannot solve this problem. It is way beyond one agency. But all the agencies need to stop working in silo. A medium size or small grassroots agency like a Lafayette all need to come to the table and try to figure out what the solution is. In Africa, in a lot of countries, particularly in Liberia, when a person and Mr. Williams always talk about he already talked about the engagement process, which is very similar in a lot of countries in Africa. Now, beyond the engagement process, then you have people getting married. Okay, once they are married, people are still in some settings, especially in a traditional setting, still being treated as, the wife is being treated as the property. And to me, that's part of the domestic violence problem right there. When you look at your wife not as an equal, but as your property, you are mine. Why is that? Because you paid dowry for her. I paid money. I paid dowry. And so when you begin to beat this woman, you begin to call, verbally abuse or call her names, kick her around, hit her around, treat her like trash. Don't her scared all the time. She's not a person and doesn't deserve to live. You are causing not only problem for the woman, your wife, but also for the children, if there are children in this marriage. Who does she turn to? She turns to her family again. The family comes because dowry has been paid to them, and so they try to work it out because they want her to be married. Then come back, the same thing started again. That cycle of it's a cycle. And so then
I think Miss Dolly's internet is having some issues.
hearing me?
Yes.
You all haven't been hearing me?
No, we've not been hearing you. Yes.
Can you
I
hear
think
me?
there was
Can
some
you hear me
issues with your
now?
internet. Yes, yes, we can hear you now. Are you saying something,
Oh,
Miss Dolly?
okay. So I was talking about the diary, that the dowry
Yes.
was paid, and so the woman is treated as property. Okay, all right. So I was saying that with the domestic violence going on, and the woman being treated, as property in her home, and being abused in different forms and shapes, presents a problem not only for her but also for her children. And so going back and forth to the elders, to try to resolve the problem, sometimes they work for some people, it doesn't always work. And if it gets to the point where it doesn't work, then they have to split up. And the dowry has to be returned to that family, and the woman goes back to her original home. And that's particularly sometimes how it's done in the tribal situation in Liberia. But domestic violence, if there's any woman listening out there today and you are in a domestic violence situation, Just know you don't have to suffer alone. You don't have to bear this alone. There's help out there. You don't have to struggle. You don't have to feel afraid. You don't have to keep taking it. There is help out there. And I hope that you, if you are listening, you are going to take hope and that you will reach out. Find a way to reach out. And for those that this woman might reach out to and try to talk to, please don't say, I'm so tired of hearing this thing. I've heard this story over and over. You don't want to do anything about it because it takes a while. For some people, it could be 9 times of going back and forth before she finally leaves. The bottom line is she has to do it when it's on her time and when she feels safe enough to do it. So if you're out there, you need help, please call Alafia's 24-hour hotline, 414-432-3555, 414-432-3555. Or you can call the National Domestic Violence Hotline or call any other hotline in this Milwaukee. But do reach out to somebody and get some help because it's not going to end on its own. I want you to move from being a victim to becoming a survivor and then a thriver. That's my wish and that's my hope for you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Dolly. We've heard the information from the expert, and those statistics are so alarming. Yet, reach out, help yourself by getting help. If you're suffering from domestic violence, reach out. You can reach out on the Alafia hotline on 414 432 3555. So reach out to get some help so you can be a survivor. Don't wait for the last minute. I have some questions, but we'll leave that. Again, targeting to Ms. Dolly and other people, we'll leave that to the last aspect. Now we will have our final speaker. So again, this area is another sensitive area that our last speaker will be discussing. And again, it's always good to have an expert talking about sensitive things and sensitive information. So we will be looking at the menstrual health issues, reproductive health topics in the African community. And there'll be no other person that is best and fit for this topic other than an African mom of itself, and will be the best African mom and a menstrual health expert, which is Dr. Azuma. Let me look at the last name properly so I don't miss your last name. Dr. Ibere Azuma. So put your hands together as we welcome Dr. Azuma. Over to you, Doctor. You're on mute, Doctor. Okay, I'm not too sure if Dr. Zuma is having some issues, but she might come back on, or we might try to reach her in another means while we're waiting for her to come back on. I have a question for Ms. Dolly while we're waiting for Dr. Zuma. Ms. Dolly, you spoke about in the worst case scenario wherein this domestic violence, and if it get to a point wherein the woman decided to go back to the family, and then the family will have to return the bride price and things like that to the family. Yeah. Dr. Zuma is having some technical issues. So, Evelyn, do you think we can start discussions now until that is resolved? Yeah, we can do the discussion until she comes back. So again, so we don't waste time. So, as I said, Miss Dolly, this question is for you. Going back in the case we're in, um, the woman goes back to the family and then they have to return the bride price. Do you think it's something, being that an expert in this area, you've worked in the field, you said you've worked for 30 something years in the field, and that's one of the reasons why you left United States to come to the Western world to learn, to study, and then you're still there. Again, and again, this might be something that is happening in Africa. Could you tell me, and again, some of the things that is happening in Africa, we normally transfer that here in the Western world to maintain our culture. Do you think it's fair for a woman to go into marriage for maybe 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, decided to come, or maybe for 4 or 5 years, decided, this is not good for me, and the environment is not good for me, I'm going back to my family. Do you think it's fair to that family to return that bride price?
Well, for one thing, one part of the question, if nothing is happening, to make her feel unsafe, to harm her or her children, and then she decides she want to go back, because say for example she's just tired of being married or something, or tired of her husband, well then I don't think it's fair. But if, to me, that there's been domestic violence, sexual assault, anything that's going to that's been harming her or causing her mentally, physically, emotionally to feel afraid, to feel like she's being harmed, or her children, for example, or threatened, then I don't think it's unfair. She's going back to her family, they paid that money. So again, to me, that's breaking the control, because so long as that money is still there and it's an issue according to tradition, then they might feel that they still have rights, to that woman. She's my wife, she's my property, I paid money, she needs to come back. She needs to come back. But on the other hand, too, the society doesn't need to ostracize her, because she didn't want her marriage anymore due to those situations, and wanted to go back home to her family for peace of mind, for her mental health, for the sake of the safety of her children and her well-being. So again, no, I don't think that's unfair.
It's not unfair. Sorry, Miss Dolly.
No, I don't think it's unfair to return the money.
Yes.
You saying to return the money?
To return the money,
Huh?
yes. Yes, to return the money.
Well, I think she should. Well, I think she should return the money. I think that if her family should return the money to break all control, all ties in a situation where there's, like I said, domestic violence, sexual assault,
Okay.
anything that's harmful to her or her children. Because we're talking about control issues when we talk about domestic violence. It's all about power and control. And to break that, here I'm going home, here's your money. I want nothing more to do with you. I want to be a free woman.
Okay, good. Thanks, Miss Dolly. Dr. Fasaha, what's your take on that one? Fair to return the money or not to return the money?
Well, my point of reference is a little bit different because where I come from, there is no the dowry is paid by the girl,
Okay.
and the
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Some culture. Yeah.
and the husband pays for the jewelry, but the woman family pay the money or
Yeah.
cows.
Mm.
But for us, we have a very strict tradition. The tradition is this: a woman, if she is abused, we have regional laws in Eritrea that are hundreds of years old. And if she's abused and if she has to go before the law, she is the only one who chooses the law that prefers, the law of her husband, if it is in favor of her, for her to bring about justice, she can choose. If the law of her parents, where she comes from, is she can also choose. Also, the purpose in our culture, the dowry is divided into three parts. The first one is for the husband and wife, the newlywed, all the money goes to them to start a new life. That's one
Mm-hmm.
rule.
Yeah.
The second rule is the parents uh, take all the expenses from the dowry, and the balance goes back to the new couple.
Mm.
Or the parents, this is of the man, share equally with the newlywed. So the whole purpose in this culture is a little bit different than the bridal price that is practiced in other parts of Africa. In this way, also, let's say a husband is abusive, and if she has children, she he is the one. Let's say if he marries somebody else, she has every right to be the inheritor of the house, or she would equally share the property with him because she has born children and she's responsible for raising those children. So those are the things but in some cultures, for example, in the Muslim tradition, a husband can divorce, but a woman cannot divorce her husband. Those we see here and there, but in the Christian tradition in Eritrea, a woman, if she does not have children, she is free to go back to her home village, and she would be treated as any woman. Of course, as a divorcee, she may have the chance to get married or not, but when she goes back to her village, she will also be allotted a piece of land to farm like any member of the society. So we deal with a little bit different tradition. However, Ms. Dali, you said it's fair to return the money, but you bear children. Not having children sometimes is a problem, and that could be a cause of friction. But having children, if you are responsible for raising the children, returning the money for me would not be fair. That is my. I don't have the knowledge, but that would be my personal assessment.
Thank you. Um,
Yeah.
from my point of view, I think again, regardless of the situation of that divorce and separation, um, it's not fair to return any dowry. That's what I would say. Because you've lived with this person for a while. It was not an agreement to say, this money that I'm giving you in hand in marriage, I'm paying for you as a bride price, is for you to keep it, store it somewhere, and if something doesn't go wrong, if something doesn't go right, things go wrong, in 5 years' time or in 2 days' time, you give me that money back and we part our ways. And just like you said, it's again when kids are involved as well, and then you return the money back. Like, are you paying for all the blood that woman wasted? Can that woman give you the equivalent in whether in leons or in Liberian dollars or in Ghana cedis or whatever to pay for that?
Mm.
So I think if we begin to have this as an African mentality, take that in our mind to say, woman is not subject to that returning that way and things like that, or bride price, returning it if marriage doesn't go wrong, if the marriage doesn't go right, then probably this will be something that will be able, that will be one of the things to address domestic violence. Because again, a man will do everything if they don't want that woman, a particular woman, having kids with that woman and thinking, you get to your use by date. There is somebody that is new now that I need to get. They will do everything to frustrate you so that you can move out of the house. Knowing that, I'll be getting my bride price again. So if that, we begin to educate people in the African community to say, you know what, and say, for example, I'm not praying for this to happen to any of our child, but if that happened and a man come back to me to say, I need my bride price, I think the next minute I'll be sleeping in jail because if I have a gun, I'll shoot you. That's it. That's the plain blank truth.
What? Uh,
That's the plain blank truth because
no,
like
I would.
you've yeah, sorry, Mr. Ali, I'm coming. Because you've lived together for a while, all the good times that you've had with that woman, can you pay for it? All the cooking that she has done in the house, probably again, if even if she's not the only one that's been doing the cooking, can you pay for that? So our thinking and everything needs to change if we want to change the aspect of domestic violence. It's not like you put in a term deposit in a bank to say at the end of the day I'm gonna call my money back. So again, I think that's completely wrong and it's unfair to the woman's point of view to say, come back and give me my money. And again, I like the Western world. Like again, when you go through divorce, and again, regardless of sometimes a woman might be sitting at home not doing anything, but when you go through divorce, you're the man, if you might be you the one that is asking for divorce, you might pay the woman some money. Again, that's somehow fair because if that woman has helped you to um, build your household, build your asset and things like that, you should be giving her some money. They should not be walking away like that. And again, it's the opposite for the man as well. If the woman has been the source of the one providing and have all the assets and everything, it will be the same thing. That man will be asking for money. So, and again, that's fair. But to come to say, I need my bride price back, or I need my dowry back, it's completely wrong. And that's what needs to change in the African point of view in dealing with domestic violence. And again, yes, Ms. Dolly, you wanted to say something.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, it needs to change, but I don't see that changing, for any time soon. Because whether
Hmm.
you're in the African traditional world or you're in the Western world, we're talking about power and control. And so
Mm-hmm.
long as a driving force in domestic violence, and so long as that person think that they can hold this over you, you know, this money or whatever it is over you, they will keep
Hmm.
harassing you, regardless of what the
Hmm.
court system say, regardless of what the councilmen say or whatever. They will keep harassing you. So to me, it's best you
Hmm.
just part ways by saying, "Here is your money. I don't want anything to do with you. I don't want any trouble. I don't want any problems. I've suffered enough. Here's your money. Thank you. Goodbye." Now, will that end the problem? In some cases, yes, and in some cases, no.
But again, when you
Her,
have go on, sir, go.
no, this is where I would like, it's a matter of interpretation.
Hmm.
for Miss Daly is saying this is the woman needs to be emancipated from any shackles and be free. That's what she
Yep.
is. But let's
Absolutely.
go back to the fundamentals. The fundamental money or cows or whatever property was exchanged. The initial purpose was to start a new life for this
Yes.
new couple.
Hmm.
It was the
Yeah.
misinterpretation
Right.
and the traditions that have evolved in such abusive way. So going back to the drawing line would be very important, which means we have to, in the school curriculum, in the infrastructure, those have to be reinterpreted and re-educated so that the society is learning because for sure there's old habits are hard to die, but at the same time or die hard, but at the same time, we have to educate the society because the initial intention of property exchange in a marriage was not as buy and sell. It
Correct.
had a totally different
Right.
purpose. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, it had a different purpose. That's true. But then somewhere down the line, things changed. And education, I agree, is key also.
But again, if these people have children, there's nothing that's going to break that ties. It's going to be there. Yeah, it's
That's
going to be
true.
there. So, like you're saying, Mr. Lee, giving the money was going to break the ties. No, it's not going to break the ties because if there are children
In
there,
a way,
the ties is going
it
to be
breaks
there.
yeah, it's supposed to break the tie between the two of them, the bond between the two
Mm,
of them. But they got children, yes.
yeah,
And that time, I
yes.
agree, it will always be there, and this is where the children then should not be used as a
Mm,
pawn. The
yeah,
parenting should happen together, for the good
mm,
of the children, for the sake of the children. But what I've seen over the years, over here especially, is people tend to
mm,
use their children one against the other. Don't do
mm,
that. That is not okay. And it's not
yeah,
acceptable.
yeah.
It
I,
doesn't
I
serve the
still,
children any good purpose.
yeah, I still stand on my grounds to say that dowry should not be returned because, again, it's not a term deposit that you put and you decided to
Yeah,
call for it after a certain time. And again, I'm putting this word out there in the African community. It,
yeah.
it's it might just take only one crazy person to do something stupid for people to stop asking when they decided, as if the marriage is break as a result of domestic violence or any other thing, to say, I want my dowry again. It might take one crazy person to do something stupid, and then everybody else will be scared to ask for that money back because it's not something that you put and waiting for maturity and then you get it back. So that's what I'll throw out there because it's unfair on both ends, whether from your own side, Fasaha, whether from your own side, where in the woman's family had to pay the dowry. It's still, if it doesn't work, and that husband and that woman family come and ask the husband to say, I need my money back, it's completely wrong. Whether it was the man that pays and then come back to say, I need my money back, it's completely wrong, regardless.
It's,
That money has
yeah,
been paid.
it's wrong. You right about that is wrong, but that doesn't
Mm,
stop people for asking for it. Whether it's the diary or give me my TV. I
mm,
bought this TV, I bought this bed, I bought this, I bought that. Give it
mm,
back to me. I want it.
mm.
It doesn't stop them from asking or harassing or
Yeah, yeah,
threatening. Even if
yeah.
the court put sanctions, and draw the line, they still find a way to go around it.
Well, again, we all live in a society wherein the court is has the final say in everything. So if court has put
Yes.
in an order to say this is it, that's it. So the laws can take its course now. If
Yeah.
a court say, you know what, this marriage has been dissolved, you're
Yeah.
entitled to this, you're entitled to that, That's it. You come back and ask me for that, I will take you back to the court. Because again, we're living in a society wherein the law takes effect. So
Yeah.
again, we decided to come from Africa to this part of the world. We need to follow the law. And again, it's the same thing in Africa. If you're there, because Africa now is becoming civilized and moving fast forward. So things like this, it still goes through the court system. Again, you should be uncivilized to go, and if the court is saying this is it, this is what you're entitled to in this divorce, and you go back now and need that 5,000 that I paid for dowry, because some culture it might be just a little money, it's just for the respect, and you go back and ask for it, like it's completely, totally wrong. That's yeah, that's the bottom line. And again, anybody want to throw their 2 cent coin into this? You're on mute, Kathleen, if you're talking.
She's not.
Yeah,
Okay.
Abat, I just want to say the issue about this bride price thing is like you are putting a price on the woman. Maybe if there is no bride price, people just marry it like that. You're not gonna come back that you should give me my bride price. Then another thing again, if you guys are married, you guys supposed to share whatever it is. So if the woman have 3 kids, and most African homes, the woman is gonna spend 95% with the kids. Maybe the man is gonna see the kids weekly. So basically, you guys have to share the stuff. Let me say 90 to 10%. 90% of the household item goes to the woman and her kids. The 10% goes to the man because the woman is there full time attending to those kids. So there shouldn't be any back and forth about this dowry issue. If you pay the dowry, the marriage didn't write, just walk away. You don't need it again because you already gained something. It's like, let me say, I bought a bowl of ice cream and I ate 90% of it. Then I took it back to the store. No, they're not going to give me my money. So you shouldn't get your money because the woman has been there cooking, cleaning, do everything, have all these kids. So what money are you asking for? Still confused. So I support your stance that bride price shouldn't be returned. And I have another take that they should just remove this bride price thing. And again, when you guys divorce or part ways, just everybody stay in their lanes. Even if you have kids, try to live peaceful instead of bringing chaos and confusion because it's not healthy for your kids. Just think about what positive and best way your kids can have good life instead of going after your partner. I think that's all I have to say.
Well, it's interesting. Everybody has their own, take on it and their own stand on it. But mine still is that for peace of mind, if I were in a situation like that and the person is going to keep coming back and forth to me for their money, or trying to use that over me, no, I'm going to give you your money back. Leave me alone. Take your money, go and leave me alone. I don't need your money to survive. Take it and leave me alone. So I will return it. I will return it for peace, especially when it's domestic violence or any kind of violence. You get me your money back.
Miss
And
Dolly,
if
I
the,
understand, Miss Dolly.
and,
You,
and if
I,
the woman asks me about it, that's being abused, and she say what I should do, I say I will tell her you do what you feel is best for you.
yeah, of course.
I will not tell her what to do. I will tell her to do what she feels is best for her, what she can handle mentally and emotionally, because she knows this man and his situation better than anybody else. But she's the one being dealing with it.
That's good. Yeah, that's good. Again, it's a case by case basis.
Exactly.
Again, it's what best for that individual.
Right.
As well. But again, I still put it out there to say it's completely wrong to go and ask for that money, and you must be stupid as a man to say, "Come and give me my money back," because like, why you asking for that?
Yeah. But you
What is
see,
it? Yeah,
you
yeah.
see, if every man thought the way you did that it's stupid or wrong to ask for the money back,
Mm.
you know, then it wouldn't be a problem. But
Would be
unfortunately,
another
they're not
problem.
all thinking that way. You know,
That's yeah.
unfortunately, they're not. You know,
Yeah, that's So, in rounding up this discussion, it's a pity we can't get the other aspects of this one because of technical issues.
difficult.
So
Yeah.
we will be rounding up, and let's maintain, just like we started, let's maintain our culture, the African culture. Let's keep the fire burning. Again, things like this, having education, um, networking like this, educative networking like this, will maintain that culture, and sort of educate people in our community, so that the culture, African culture, and our stand and our take, especially those of us that are here, this Western world, we will be influential to the people that are back in our different countries. So my take there, back to our politicians back home. You've listened to what our uncle said, and again, we will be watching you. We will be encouraging our people in our own little different ways to say, stand for the truth. If it's only take you to give them one time, let's do it. Give them one time. Don't give them more and more time in office so that they continue to destroy us. If you have issues, domestic violence issues, reach out so you can get help. Help yourself by getting help for yourself, for your mental and physical well being. So it's better you live to tell the story than you die and then you don't have the opportunity to tell the story. And then we will have generation that will be repeating the same thing. Children will be going through the same thing again to say it's okay to live in this way and it's fine. I will just live my life like that. So again, reach out. The hotline is there: 414-432-3555. So reach out so that you can get the help that you need. So thank each and every one of the panel for your insightful words. And again, let's not forget the African tradition, the religious aspect. And again, as we said before, if it has an influence to your religion, then think about it. But if it doesn't have any negative impact to your religion, yes, let's maintain it, let's keep it so that our culture will continue. I'll hand you over back to Etlin. As yeah, she will continue from here. You're on mute. You're on mute, Etlin.
Thank you so much, Abed. That was really wonderful. You did a wonderful job trying to get information out on different topics to the African community. Again, thank you to our speakers. Thank you to Dolly for the wonderful information on domestic violence. Thank you to Uncle Fasahad explaining the African political system. Thank you to Minister Daphne talking about the African religion and how the African religion should be operating. Thank you to our guest, Zainab Kuruma. That's my lovely sister. Thank you to West, our wonderful friend of Alafia, and also my brother-in-law. Thank you to Dr. Azuma, although there was a bit of technical issue. So we just want to thank you all. It has been wonderful. Thank you to Olive and Francis for their wedding video. Always, Alafia want to pass information to the community that will help the community. So we thank you all. If you have any question, you can call us on 414 432 355 414 And again, you can go to our website. You can email us. The email address is there. You can chat with us. You can text us too. So whatever means of communication you want to try, just go to Alafia website. Everything is available there. Thank you, everybody. Thank you to our sponsors. So that's how we close this year's Moment with African, and we are hoping to get you another version next year in person. Thank you so much.
We should end with a video again.
Yeah, that's true.
Did you hear me?
Yeah.
I said we should end with
Yes.
start on a happy note, end on a happy note.
Yes, we yes, let's get that wedding video again. 1 second, because yes, some people inbox us that they want to see it. And okay, guys, thank you. We are going back to the video.
Thank you all. Thanks everyone.
Thanks all.
Thank you. Good job.